Okay, so we got all these granny squares. Let's get them sewn together. Hey guys, so today I'm going to tell you quickly how to join your granny squares, the ones that we've created in a past video. If you have not checked out that video on how to actually make granny squares, be sure to go ahead and do that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to join the granny squares together. What you'll need is some type of darning needle or some type of needle. You can use a crochet hook too, but I find it's a lot easier just to go ahead and use a sewing needle or a yarn needle to get it accomplished. We'll first join 2 together, then we'll join 3 and then 4, and then you just kind of keep going depending on how many granny squares you've created. So I found this little trick on another YouTuber's page. If I can figure out who it was, I'll link it. But anyway, you just go ahead and make yourself a slip knot, and I have a video on how to do that if you can't catch on there. And you'll go ahead and string up your yarn through your needle. So the slip knot will be on one end, and then you'll string up your yarn through the other end. And what basically will happen is we'll kind of sew through that slip knot at the end, and it will kind of keep everything pulled together. So what we're going to do is go ahead and line up our granny squares. And what I've done in this video is I've already kind of blocked my granny squares, so I put another single crochet stitch all the way around. So what you're going to do is go ahead and line up your granny squares together. Okay, and once you have it nicely aligned, you want to make sure that you put the needle through both squares. And that's the trick, just making sure that you pick up both squares before you start your whip stitch. You want to, because I've already done my my single crochet stitch all the way around, it's a lot easier for me to see it, but you want to make sure that you get the needle through both sides. You'll pull all the way through until you reach that slip knot that we did at the very beginning, and then you're just going to go ahead and sew right into that slip knot area, just like you see on the screen there. That's just going to create a more secure end, and I've done this in a couple of projects, and I think that it works up really well. So typically though, that end piece right there, you would just go ahead and weave that in while you're working. For whatever reason, from this angle and the way I was looking through the camera, I really didn't ever pick up that end piece, but usually you can just sew that down as you're sewing down your granny squares, or as you're attaching your granny squares. But in this tutorial you won't really capture that, just because of the way I have the camera angled, and I just couldn't see that string through the lens. Okay, so go ahead and just work down the length of your granny square, and basically you're just going to attach it that way. Now there are plenty of videos and there are plenty of tutorials that show different techniques if you were going to be sewing using, like if you're going to make a garment, or if you're going to do, if you need this, you need the stitch to lay flatter. There are a lot of tutorials that show you how to do that. But my goal has always really been to just help the newer crocheters in the crochet world. So I'm just going to show you the basic way of doing it. And then of course, I always encourage you to go out and find new ways of doing the same thing. I mean, you can only get better the more you work at it, right? So now just keep on working down the row. You're just going to continue to do a whip stitch all the way down. Okay, so basically, like I said before, you just want to make sure that you are making sure that the yarn goes through both sides. So just line it up real good, and then you're just going to go all the way down. I mean, that's really the easiest thing I can tell you. There's also a technique where you can kind of join as you go, so you can kind of create your granny squares and sew them together, crochet them together as you're working the project. You know, but so like I said, there's plenty of ways to do this. Okay, you want to just make sure that you work and see how it has that little area. You want to go ahead and make sure you sew that up as well. Now, if you're going to go around this again with another border, then those little areas will be covered up once you go around again, but you still want to try to get it as flush as possible. Okay. See how that's looking? And then just run the needle back down the row a little bit. So go down and then go back up and then go down. Just want to make sure that your ends are secure. That's pretty much how I attach my granny squares together. You see there, it's very secure. Nothing's coming apart. And then anything that you need to weave in, you can do that. Now, once I've gotten the, two of them joined together, then I go ahead and join the third one. And if you wanted to use like a, oh my God, I just thought, what those, not a safety pin. What do you call those things? If you want to use like a stitch marker or something, anything to kind of hold the two pieces together, you can do that. That just makes it easier for you. Like I say, mainly because I'm working it from this angle, it really got a little bit harder for me to illustrate it on camera and then also sew them together. So I'll show you how I typically will do it. I would lay the project kind of flat like this, and then I would just I would sew it while it's flat. I find that that's a lot easier because I can see both sides of the stitch, and it just works out a lot easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and tie myself another slip knot and then start over again, but I'll just show you how I do that. Okay, I'm just getting that situated. Go ahead and thread up your needle, and then see how I do it here. I just kind of line it up and then just pull through. It's a lot easier when I lay it flat. So that's just another option. If you lay it flat on a flat surface and sew it up, it works fine too. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. Using a whip stitch, then you can sew up your crochet granny squares. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so, please take the time to do that. Check me out on my other social media platforms. Instagram is a great way to get me if you have any questions about any of my projects, and then also on my blog. So anyway, talk to you guys later. See you in my next video. Bye.